I don't accidentally put your laptop live. I want to make sure I use the correct one. So we're going to be going live. We'll go live just after 4, so we'll go live in just a second. If you could both get your, like, make sure your cameras are on and stuff in StreamYard. Well, hang on a second, everybody. We're getting started in just a second. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Happy Hacking with the MLH Fellows. Today, we're going to be talking to two of the fellows of the MLH Fellowship, talking about their experiences and what they've learned over the last nearly 12 weeks. But first of all, I'm going to just talk about the new MLH Fellowship that has been announced really recently. So applications for the next MLH Fellowship have gone live as of yesterday, so you can go head over to fellowship.mlh.io and apply right now. If you were someone who got onto the shortlist for the last one or something like that, then you should totally reapply, and hopefully this time you will be successful. Now, we've made a few changes to the program, which are super exciting. This time we have a full-time option and a part-time option. So if you're someone who wants to study at the same time, you'll be able to hopefully participate in the fellowship as well. So you can find all that information out on our website. We also have two different tracks. The first track we have is the open source track, which is similar to the fellowship we just ran, where you'll be contributing to open source projects throughout the kind of 12 weeks in the autumn or fall. So that will be very similar, where you'll be working with mentors and maintainers and building contributions that are working on real world projects used by companies and people every single day. We also have the new fellowship, which is the Explorer track, and this fellowship is aimed at those who are looking to brush up their skills, maybe finish off that personal project they started at a hackathon once, and be able to kind of get support from a mentor along the way. So if you're someone who wants to brush up a portfolio website, work on a personal project or something like that, but get support while you're doing it, then the Explorer Fellowship is perfect for you. All the information I've just talked about can be found on our website at fellowship.mlh.io, where you can find all the information, and if you've got any questions, feel free to email us too. Now, I'm going to jump straight in. Apparently I'm a bit quiet, hopefully that's a little bit better. Now I'm going to jump straight into chatting with some of our fellows. We have E-Liang and Manya who are here to join us today, tuning in from Singapore and India. So I'm going to just introduce them onto the stream right now. Ooh, hang on a second, there we go, and perfect. So welcome E-Liang and Manya. I hope you're having a good time. E-Liang, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yes. So I'm a final year computer science student at the National University of Singapore. So I'm very much a product-focused person. And so during this fellowship, I've been working on React by Facebook, and as everyone knows. And it's been a really, really cool experience so far. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's really cool to hear. Manya, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey, I just finished my second year in the University of Hong Kong. I'm studying computer science, and I've been contributing to React Native in the MLH Fellowship, and it's been a great experience so far. Yeah.
Awesome. We love to hear it. Well, we're going to be chatting with them over the next hour, just getting to know a little bit more about the fellowship. So if you've got any questions, feel free to let us know in the chat. So we're going to start off. I'd love to hear from the two of you what your favorite memory from the fellowship. So this fellowship has been going over the last 10 weeks with hackathons, educational activities, and obviously contributing to these open source projects. So there's a huge amount of things going on here. E-Liang, what would you say your favorite memory from the experience is?
Yeah, I've actually had many great memories from this fellowship. It's really just way too many to mention. But I think my favorite memory will probably be when I got my our first PR merge into React. So personally, I've been using React for about 4 years now, and so this fellowship gave me a really nice excuse to dive deep into the code base and to just see how the reconciler works and all the good stuff. So at the end of the few weeks of that deep dive, we created a nice PR and we got it landed to React Master. So I think this is the first time I've had code landed on such a big open source project. So I previously interned at Facebook, where our code definitely went into a global system, but it is very cool when something goes public. And so what happened after it was landed was that I tweeted a small little tweet saying celebrating this experience, and Yanni, our mentor, retweeted it, and so did Brian Vaughn, who is our project maintainer from the React core team. And so I got 30 plus followers just from that one tweet, and 100 plus likes. That is the wildest thing that has happened in my life on the internet. Yeah.
Wow, so you've become an internet celebrity at the same time. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Did you ever contribute to anything to the same sort of scale as React before the fellowship?
No, yeah. So the only thing that will match the scale would be my Facebook internship. So so last summer I interned at Facebook and I was working on an internal tool within Facebook. Yeah. So the code base size was definitely like huge. It was the giant monorepo of Facebook. Yeah. But definitely not anything that's like used on such a global scale as React. Yeah, by engineers.
That's awesome. That is
Yeah.
really cool, because I can't even imagine where to start with looking at the code base for React. It must have been pretty overwhelming, but really impressive stuff to be able to get your first PR merged at the start of the fellowship. It's awesome.
Yeah, super exciting. Yeah.
Perfect. Manya, what would you say your favorite memory from the fellowship was?
Like E-Liang said, there have been like so many amazing moments during the fellowship that it's hard to pick out like the most favorite memory. But I just love the time that we spend during doing like roundtable discussions within the whole pod. Like our mentor hosts them, and then we discuss about so many things that are crucial to our careers as software engineers and developers. And these are like these 1 hour long sessions where we just like have frank conversations about what it means to be in this field. And those are just like my favorite part of the whole fellowship. Yeah. And working on React Native has been a great experience too. And it was really nice because we are revamping the whole app that we're working on, the React Native tester app, and getting approvals and getting design reviews from the actual React Native team was like huge. So that's definitely great.
That's awesome. That's really cool to hear that you really enjoyed some of the pod activities and stuff. What other pod activities did you get up to out of interest? Manya, do you want to take it away?
Can you repeat the question?
So you talked about how you really enjoyed some of the pod activities. I know you did some stuff like retros and show and tells and other stuff like that. What kind of what did you enjoy about those?
Okay, so I love the retrospectives. They also last super long, but everybody just gets so real about how they're feeling throughout the week. And it's really good to see people open up about their problems. And then collectively we try to discuss ways in which people could get through them. So I love them. Today I had my first show and tell, and I just realized so far I had loved show and tell just by, listening to them and just realizing how much amazing stuff that people were working on. And these were just great sessions where you learn so much stuff. But like delivering one myself today was such an exhilarating experience because I've never talked about anything technical with like an audience watching. So that was a really amazing experience.
Awesome. Out of interest, what did you talk about? What was your show and tell about?
So I talked about X state today, which basically helps you have like finite state machines in your front end development. And yeah, I think it's a really cool framework. Yeah.
Oh, damn. Nice. Cool. So it sounds like you've both been up to a fair amount during the fellowship already, and we've only just touched a tiny amount of it. Now, there's a huge number of things I imagine you have like learned and experienced during the fellowship, but what would you say your biggest takeaways from the fellowship are? E-Liang, would you like to kind of go first?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I think my takeaways are like they tend to be the non-technical ones. So like I think the most recent one will be things regarding personal branding. So things like how to like present yourself to potential employers. I think this is not something that I have really been focused on over the past few years. And I don't think university teaches this as well. So university tends to focus on the hard skills, but definitely not on personal branding. So like things like how to present yourself on Twitter, like how to get a Twitter following, how to tweet something that how to tweet or how to communicate with people such that they'll be interested in what you have to say. And yeah, so this is actually like one of the topics that was brought up in one of the roundtables that the pod roundtables that Yanya has tried with us. Yeah, so yeah, it's that would definitely be my biggest takeaway.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. Manya, what would you say your biggest takeaway is?
So my biggest takeaway was that I can contribute to open source, because previously open source used to be like this daunting field that I thought I could just not be associated with.
I know that
But I
feeling.
just realized, yes, I just realized you can ask for help and you can always find something to contribute to in every project. And that's, yeah, definitely something I'm going to continue doing after the fellowship ends as well.
That's really interesting. Now that you've like contributed to these really big open source projects, and you can kind of, you know what the reality of it is. Is there any kind of like things that you thought were true that just weren't, like, oh, you just can't contribute to them unless you have lots of experience, or you need to know this thing inside and out? Is there anything like that that you realized during the fellowship that, oh, actually, I can contribute to open source? It's not as scary as it looks.
So one thing that I did realize was that all you need to do is like first get a feel of whatever project you're working on, because I hadn't worked on React Native before this, like maybe a very small project or two. And I realized you would learn as you contribute. So just have an understanding of how the basic thing works. And I think I just learned on the go. So yeah, there's nothing really very scary to it.
That's really cool to hear. So for those of you who are thinking of contributing to open source, you heard it here first. It's not as scary as it seems. And here's the thing, like maintainers and stuff, they want to support you because there's a huge amount of work to do on these open source projects, and you can't have just one person doing it. So, if you're willing to put the time in to, help make it even better, I'm sure the maintainers will be interested in making sure that giving you the support you need. E-Liang, what would you say? Sorry, I already asked that. Don't worry, ignore that. So you've mentioned about Yanni, your mentor. Now, I'd love to hear about how Yanni has impacted your experience at the fellowship. Manya, would you like to go first?
So Yanni has been really helpful in facilitating the whole process for us, because the team that I contributed with was like a 6-people team, and then we later grew on to become 8. So basically, Yanni had sessions with us where he taught us how to work effectively in a team. How do you resolve conflicts? Because there were so many of them, which are acceptable when it's such a big team. But his guidance throughout that whole process has been amazing. Apart from that, he's given me like one-on-one mentorship sessions where we've talked about how I can grow after this fellowship. And those were some points that I never thought I would have come up on my own if I was just thinking about my career options. So it has been extremely helpful.
That's awesome. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but I know that Yanni has really helped you with one of the hackathon projects you worked on called Stack Attack, and really helping kind of like work out how you can get some momentum going on that project. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. E-Liang, what would you say, how has Yanni impacted your experience?
Yeah, so I think he's a really incredible mentor. I've never met any mentor that's as as helpful as this. So he tends to look for teachable moments at all times. So during our daily stand-ups or during the retros, like Manya will definitely agree with this. But somehow, when we are talking, whenever like whatever you say, like somehow he will find a way to like teach something from that. So I think I don't know anyone else who does that, and it's really good way to just like be able to absorb like small little lessons that don't really make sense for like a whole like a whole talk, for example. Like it's just like one little sentence that's like this don't be too perfectionistic, for example. Then he also somehow is very motivating. I don't know how that happens, but like whenever you listen to Yanni give a talk, like somehow you feel very motivated to just do something. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So like this always happens. Like so I definitely felt this way whenever like there was that like those roundtable sessions that we talked about. Yeah. So after that, I was just like, I need to do this. Yeah. So
that's awesome. I know that Yanni has impacted a huge number of people throughout the fellowship, and has definitely like explained things that you'll look at, you go, I don't understand what's going on here, and then you just talk to Yanni and he'll be, oh no, you just like this, and you're like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. I feel like the two of you have both had that experience where Yanni has helped make things a lot easier to understand. Cool. So one of the other parts of the fellowship is you have a mentor in your pod who will kind of support you throughout your project, and we also have maintainers from the projects that they'll be the fellows will be contributing to. So I know the two of you have been contributing to Facebook projects. So E-Liang, how has the maintainers kind of impacted you, and like how have you found their support throughout the fellowship?
Yeah, so my MLH Fellowship project was to build a React concurrent mode profile. So this is on basically the TLDR is that it's a dev tool for React concurrent mode. So it's to help like engineers who use these advanced performance optimizations in React to be able to understand how React works. So my maintainer, the maintainer that I worked with this was Brian Vaughn from the React core team. So he tends to deal with the DevTools side of React, so like React DevTools. Yeah, and he has been very supportive throughout. So we have meetings with him every Monday where we just like give him updates and also like asking for feedback. And also like we can ping him whenever, like during the week, and he will always respond very quickly. So we can get our answers, like any questions answered very quickly, to basically unblock us very easily. Yeah. So I personally, it's been a great experience working with Brian on this project. Yeah.
Awesome. That's really good to hear. Now, I imagine neither of you had interacted with a maintainer at all. So that's really good that you got some experience with, working with the maintainers as well. Now, was it particularly meaningful to be supported by any of the MLH sponsors? So maybe Facebook helping, support your pod and being able to kind of give you this guidance with your React and React Native projects. And I know you work on a huge number of other Facebook tools as well. Manya, would you like to touch upon this?
Yeah, so definitely like Facebook sponsorship really helped us like have those projects to work on. And since these are technologies that all front-end developers do work with, getting a chance to actually contribute to it meant like a huge deal to all of us. So that was because of the support of the sponsors. So yeah, that has been an integral part of this fellowship.
That's really good to hear. Without our sponsors, the fellowship wouldn't be possible, and we've been able to impact so many people and really level up their development skills throughout the summer. So it's really good to hear that their support is really helping. Now, the fellowship doesn't just have contributing to open source projects. We've got a few other things that we have too. So something that I'm actually kind of run primarily as part of the fellowship is organizing these additional educational sessions that fellows can attend or watch on catch up later on YouTube. We're covering a mixture of career advice, Q&As, lightning talks, where we've had like GraphQL, Android, how to get your first job and that kind of stuff. And so I know that we've had, I think, about 50 of these so far, and we've got a few more lined up over the next couple of weeks. Manya, has there been any sessions that you've really, really enjoyed?
I think there are several sessions that I've enjoyed. All of these talks are just so great. Even though they're like not in my time zone, I can always like stay up late to watch them. So there was this one discussion that we had with John Britton where he basically shared his journey as a developer evangelist, and that was a really fun conversation that we had with him for about an hour. And then there was this one session about writing words about code, and I personally loved that session so much because I've been trying to just start blogging, and these little tips given by Jacob Harrington were amazing. And I was like, okay, I just don't have to think about original content. Like, let's just find our own voice and start writing. So that was great.
I have to totally agree with you. I also really enjoyed John Britton's talk where he talked about kind of how he got to where he is and like his different kind of career paths. And Jacob, we had the talk from Jacob from Dev last week about writing words about writing code, and he kind of just like everyone kind of like, I kind of like the idea of writing, technical content, but I don't know, just nothing to ever, you don't know, you're kind of like, yeah, I'll get around to doing that at some point, and then you just never do. But his talk was really insightful, and really, I don't know about you, but it definitely like motivated me to actually, give it a go.
I definitely have a draft ready, so yeah, that did help a lot.
Manya, would you like to talk about, so I remember in the session, Jacob had like a thing for the MLH Fellowship, or like a template, and you'll be able to find all the blog posts. Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
So basically, yeah, there was a template that Jacob had ready for us, and yeah, I'm just like hoping to write something about the fellowship experience. There are so many thoughts that are in my brain, but I don't know how to put them into words. Yeah.
It's definitely gonna take a bit of practice for sure. But if you're
Yeah.
interested, you can find some of the fellows have been writing a nice little blog post of their experience. So if you're interested to find out a little bit more about what it's like to be a fellow from the fellows themselves, I believe if you go to the link, I believe it's like dev.to/ something, but it's like MLH grad.
I'm
You
like
find
bad.
that MLH grad, perfect. See, evidently someone here knows. So if you head over to that, you should be able to find out all of the posts. I know fellows have been sharing them on LinkedIn and Twitter as well, so hopefully you'll be able to find one there. Was there any other sessions that you particularly stood out to you?
There was this one session which was very different because I've never talked to venture capitalists before. We had one with 15, 17. And that was a really fun session where you could just like ask venture capitalists what they care about, and they gave you like very solid answers about like no bullshit. So yeah.
No, I totally agree with you. I remember going into that session not really knowing what to expect because as a 20-year-old, I don't really know anything about venture capital at all.
Yeah.
Imagine neither of you two know anything about that either. So it's really interesting to hear like from their perspective how they see things, how they think about things, and it just just really helpful to see kind of what it's like in the real world when you're trying to do business like that and stuff like that. Awesome. Cool, so that is the sessions. If you are interested, actually a good number of them are on YouTube. So if you head over to the MLH YouTube channel, youtube.com/majorleaguehacking, you'll be able to find a playlist with all some of the sessions that we have public. I would highly recommend it. Some of them are really good. Now, the fellowship isn't just about sort of learning and developing these new skills. It's also an opportunity to make some new friends, meet new people, and generally just kind of expand your network. Now, from my experience, I've met all these awesome fellows from all over the world, people I just would have never ever interacted with if it wasn't for the fellowship. But not only was it fellows, I've also interacted with mentors and maintainers and people who've done these talks and sessions. E-Liang, is there any people you've met through the fellowship that have impacted you? Maybe they're a new friend, new mentor, helped you with like career advice, something like that.
Oh yeah, so there's definitely been many people that have impacted me throughout this fellowship. So apart from Yanni, who have like we have talked about like too much about it. So he's definitely a huge part of this. But yeah, we've already talked about it. So I think some other people that have impacted me will be like the people in my pod. So I think our pod is actually quite we are quite well gelled. So we tend to play like every few days. We'll play Scribble. So it's a game where like there's a word and then you try to. So one person will draw the word, and everyone else will guess what that word is.
Normally
so
they guess incorrectly because it's very difficult to work out what people are drawing.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So there's one person in our pod in particular who doesn't draw and guess these correctly, and that is always super funny to watch. Yeah, but it's not just all fun. So we also have like four of us in the pod. So the pod is 10 people. Four of us built during the second hackathon. We built Stack Attack. So Manya is in this group that built this as well, along with Jesse and Safo, who in the same pod. So we decided to build this Stack Attack to help work with Stack pull requests, and I did it. This is one tool that I think the community has really needed. So it's super cool to be able to like find like-minded people around and like just go and build it. Yeah.
That's awesome. No, that is really cool that you've been able to kind of make this little like group of friends that I feel like after the fellowship you'll stay in touch with them and potentially cross paths with again.
Definitely.
Yeah. Is there anyone? Do you feel the same way, or is there any other like key people that you want to mention?
Pretty much the same way. Everybody in our pod is like, they're so great at so many different things. And I have learned so much over the past 10 weeks from each one of them that, yeah, we've made close friends in our pod.
That's awesome. That is really cool to hear. So the fellowship, the fellowship is a great opportunity for, learning new development skills, kind of just generally learning new stuff, getting experience and meeting people. Now, some people who are doing the fellowship will be graduating either this year or next year. And, you know, the whole point of the fellowship is to kind of prepare you for the real world almost. How has the fellowship prepared you both for working in tech? Is there any particular skills that you've learned? I know that you've all now become experts in Git over the last like 10 weeks. Manya, you seem like it was quite a lot. Have you got anything you want to add there?
So basically with Git, because our project deals so heavily with Git, that I just learned so much about the technical details that go in there. So it has been a very Git learning journey.
I can imagine it's been frustrating at times when things conflict, but it's not as simple as just a conflict. It's a conflict, if you know what I mean.
Definitely, yeah.
E-Liang, is there anything else that you'd like to add there?
Yeah, to add on to what Manya said, like, so I think she was talking about stack attack. So like when we were implementing stack attack, it was we really had to go into like the internals of Git. Like so like for example, we had to implement cherry pick using like cherry pick, and then you build an index and you build a tree. Like I don't even know until now. I still don't know what the index and the tree is in Git. It's some Git internal stuff that that like normal people would just like gloss over. So that's something that I definitely learned. But I think personally from a broader point of view, like it's definitely about learning the things around the hardcore tech. So in terms of like hard technical skills, we definitely learn a lot. And there's a lot of so the fellowship has given us a lot of things that can be shown to potential employers. For example, like just because everything is open source, so anybody can see like all the PRs that I made to both the profiler and even to React, which is I think not many people, not many university students have like made PRs too.
Both of your GitHub profiles will be looking pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. I think so too. Like yeah.
So you both mentioned about stack attack. Now, for those of you who don't know what is stack attack, would you care to share?
Yeah, I can try. So the whole idea about stack attack is that we really wanted to make it easy to allow you to build a stack of PRs. So a stack of PRs is like you implement a feature, but that feature may take it may be a big feature, right? So you would what a typical person would like typical engineer would do is to make a giant PR with like a few comments inside and implement the entire feature in a giant PR. But the problem with these PRs are that it's so big that you can't really like when a reviewer comes in, they're like there's just so many changes. It's very hard to follow the changes, and so this results in bugs being merged into master and ultimately deployed to production. So Stack Attack is meant to solve this by so we implement basically Facebook's workflow, which I found out after that Jane Street and some other companies are actually using this as well. But essentially, the idea is that we make small PRs that stack on each other. So they all depend on each other. And the idea is that you would make small PRs that can be independently reviewed, and they can be merged as like a partial stack or a full stack. So so that is the general idea. So we built a tool that allows you to, like a CLI, a very cool command line tool with like it's interactive and it's colorful. That allows you to like deal with Git commits and PRs very easily, and also land them easily with a GitHub bot that I'm working on. I actually just deployed to production today, so yeah.
Wow, that is awesome. It's really cool. So for those of you new to the fellowship, we had a hackathon halfway through called the Halfway Hackathon, where Manya and E-Liang worked on this project with a couple other people in their pod to build this awesome project, and their mentor Yanni is helping them kind of work on it as well going forwards, because everyone, just because the hackathon over, that doesn't mean they want to stop working on the project, and it's really cool to see this project kind of coming to life. I must say, I know a lot of people were very excited about it, and it is on GitHub if anyone is interested. But one of the things I do want to reference was you showed it on your demo at the hackathon a meme that was like, oh, two lines of change. Yeah, sure, I'll review that properly. Yeah, no, you need to change it. It's not quite right. 500 lanes? Yeah, probably fine. Yeah, sure. It's all good. merge it. It's probably fine. And that's a bit of a problem, because 500 lines of chains, like 500 changes is a substantial amount, and quite a lot could break in that. So maybe, making reviewing process much easier is really important. So I love this project. Manya, did you have anything you wanted to add about your experience with Stack Attack?
So yeah, I think the best thing that has happened to us is as a team, we have worked together, since it was the first time working remotely with any of us. So it was really nice that all four of us, Jesse and Safan included, we would get into these calls and we would just try to work out our problems. And I just realized that even when you're working remotely, you can have very effective communication if you just stay on a call and everything just works out fine after that. So yeah, remote work doesn't seem daunting anymore after all of these experiences. Yeah.
Awesome. So that goes on lovely to the next topic I wanted to talk about so this is kind of like an internship alternative. It's not like your typical internship, but it has a lot of similarities where you get to learn some real world experience. Now, obviously this is different to a traditional internship in the first fact that it's remote, which is, normally you are in person for an internship. So being remote is a big change. And two, you're working with people all over the world. So for example, E-Liang, you're based in Singapore, if I'm right in saying so. And Manya, you're based in India at the moment. I'm based in the UK, as well as your mentor, Yanni. And there are other fellows based all over the world. And it's really cool to kind of see, no matter, even though we are thousands of miles away from each other, you can still collaborate and build really cool stuff. How have you both found the whole kind of remote working experience? Manya, would you like to go first?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, it was a little daunting at first, but then we had two things that I think really kept me grounded to working remotely as well. That was the daily stand-ups and the weekly retrospectives. So when you had to get on a call with the team and share your status and listen to them and their work from all different projects, it would just motivate you to, okay, let's just get started because tomorrow I have to talk about what I worked today. So that was a great way of motivating me to work. And the second thing was the retrospectives. We would have weekly check-ins about how we're feeling, how projects are going. And that just meant that we were constantly talking about what's going right and what's going wrong. So there was no problems in our experience in a remote internship.
Awesome. E-Liang, how have you found the remote experience? Because I imagine, were you working in person when you did your internship at Facebook last year?
Yeah, I did. So it was a typical office. I had my intern manager beside me. My team manager was in front of me, and we did have some remote work because we had my team had a sister team based in Menlo Park. So we did have some time difference and remote working there, but it wasn't as significant as what obviously as this MLH Fellowship, because this is completely remote, and everybody that I talk to every day they're all overseas, which it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things, it just in terms of social stuff, is just that this fellowship is the first time I met so many people from across the world in a single place. Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone on the fellowship that I've interacted with, all of the people I've interacted with. I don't think there's a single person I've actually met in person. I think I've only ever talked to them over the internet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially when they're all outside your country, that is just crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I have with remote working is I feel like the main problem is time zones. Manya, how have you found the time zone difference, and what have you got any kind of tips on how you balance that?
I think what has usually happened is that most of our fellows don't have a very balanced sleep cycle. So it just works out if we have to maintain late hours, E-Liang. So I think that just works out. I think everybody just finds a common ground. For some people, it's a little late into the evening, and for some, it's a little early in the morning. But we all just figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is, even if you're in a different time zone, the time zone doesn't really matter. It's whatever your body clock's on is the real thing.
Yeah, your body clock adapts to it. Yeah, but I think another difference between a regular internship and this one, is that I think with this fellowship, I think you are mainly working for yourself. You do have a product that is going to production and it's going to impact so many people around the world, but ultimately it's you are still working for your own benefit. You are all the time that you put into this fellowship is to benefit yourself, and like the project itself is like is a way to help you do that. But whereas for internship, for regular internship, it's more like you are definitely still working on a project for the company. So I think that's a very subtle but it's a subtle but very major difference here. So I feel like so personally I'm very happy to spend a ridiculous amount of time on the fellowship, and I have like over the past few weeks I literally wake up and go straight to my computer and work all the way until I sleep, and especially when like juggling both Stack Attack and the React Profiler projects, like doing both at once, both heavy projects is yeah, it takes up a lot of time, but I'm very, very happy to do that. Yeah.
That's awesome. Manya, have you got anything else you'd like to add about your experience with remote working? Did you have an internship last year or anything like that?
Yeah, I had an internship, but that was also like an in-office internship. And I think that the major difference between usual traditional internships and this one, as E-Liang also mentioned, has been the focus on our own learning. The main purpose was that you should learn and grow as a person, and while also delivering for the project. So that has been really different from all my past internships.
Awesome. That's really interesting to hear. Cool. So what we're going to do, we're going to now talk about like the experience as a fellow and becoming one. So you had to go through an interview process to become a fellow, and then you got on board and stuff. I imagine it was a bit different to your previous internships because you didn't turn up to an office on your first day. You sort of opened your laptop and it begun. How was the process of becoming a fellow for you both? E-Liang, would you like to take it away?
Yeah, I think it was actually pretty smooth. So yeah, as you mentioned, it's really just like one day you turn on your computer, you log into Zoom, and there are like 10 people staring at you, including you, Will. yeah, you were there too. yeah. And all of them are overseas, like from like they're outside of my country, which is yeah. So it's just a bit like disorientating at first, but you get over that very quickly because I think MLH the orientation process was pretty smooth. Somehow, like we just we did some onboarding like icebreakers, and then after that we also had an orientation hackathon where we work we built something based on using the tools that we are going to contribute to. So I think that helped to there was also the compulsory one-on-ones with all the people in your pod. I think that was very scary at first, especially if you never did, like you suddenly need to talk to a stranger halfway across the world. Yeah, but those ended up being very, very fun. Yeah, so I think all of that put together was made the onboarding process very smooth. Not really onboarding, but like just getting to know the people in your pod and getting to know your project. Yeah.
Manya, have you got anything you'd like to add there?
I think maybe just because I love hackathons or something, I thought it was like a brilliant idea to, yes, definitely. I thought it was like a brilliant idea to learn about your projects through using those technologies in a hackathon. Like that was like super amazing. And the one-on-ones, yeah, I did think like they were like a replacement of the usual lunch that you have with your workmates. But yeah, it was like a little scary at first, but it turned out to be real fun and super nice. And through that, we actually got to know a lot more about the people that we were working with. So yeah.
That's cool. Well, here's the thing, right? For everyone who didn't know this, we didn't tell the fellows what the theme of the hackathon was until the hackathon started. We just said, you'll be building a project. You will find out more information soon. Everyone was like, okay, right. What does that mean? And we're like, okay, so you're doing a hackathon project, but you have to use one of the projects you're going to be contributing to somehow in the project. And so some people thought, oh, that's really easy. My project, like I can implement my project into anything. Some people went, I work on Oh My Z Chill, and how can I implement that into other things? So it's definitely quite interesting to see the creativity that people came up with to implement. Everyone managed to do it in the end. It was really awesome to see these different projects. Would you two like to talk about the project, because you worked in the hackathon team, the orientation hackathon together, right?
Yeah.
Manya, would you like to tell us about that project and kind of how the orientation hackathon was, kind of additionally to what you just said?
So I think in the orientation hackathon, we put a lot of focus into learning the most about the projects that were there. Since I think we were a little bit lucky, and pulling off one would have been really easy because our pod had React Native, and then it had Relay and React JSON schema forms. So and just so well, like React Native was like a very easy game, but we thought, why not? Like, let's go ahead and let's try to like use as many more libraries that we can learn about. So over the weekend, we created an app that allows readers to basically add the books that they're reading, track the progress in the books as they go, and even like have like a focus mode on their phone, so that while they're reading, they can just say that, okay, I don't want any disturbance right now. So we tried to use Relay for the first time. It was not easy to learn it in a span of 3 days and execute it as well, but we did it, and I'm really proud of that as a team. Yeah.
Yeah, the other big challenge was working on with React Native as well. So I think we both have very limited experience with React Native before this. Yeah, so it's nowhere as smooth as like using React. So yeah, but we definitely learned a lot through struggling through that. As well as Relay. Like I've never set up Relay before, and as you might know, like Relay tends to be quite opinionated about things. So it's a little bit more of a hassle to set up. Yeah.
Awesome. That's really cool to hear. So we've talked about all the different parts of the fellowship, and we talked about every single part. So contributing to projects, the stuff you do with your pod, some of the educational sessions and stuff like that, all of these different things. Now, what do you believe is your biggest achievement out of all of this, or greatest contribution during the fellowship? So to give you a few ideas, maybe, so the fellows have been working on pull requests and contributions and stuff like that. Is there any that you're particularly proud of? Manya, would you like to go first if you've got one in mind?
Okay. So I think anybody who has worked on like big teams is going to relate with me. My biggest achievement throughout the fellowship was resolving conflicts and making decisions. And like with time, we just had this mechanism going on where we could just easily resolve any conflict that came up, any differences in opinions and how to do stuff. So just being able to work in such a big team was a huge achievement throughout this fellowship, because usually in the CS courses that we do in university, you usually work alone or with just one friend on a project. So you never really understand how hard it can be to like work with big teams. So this is definitely a skill that's going to help me for years to come, I'm sure of that.
That's awesome. No, I totally agree with you. Like, it is a super valuable skill to have, and one that you will definitely use in the future. No doubt about that. E-Liang, have you got, what would you say your biggest achievement or kind of contribution that you're most proud of is?
Yeah, I think like my biggest achievement has not happened yet. So I think it's gonna happen in the next week. and
Right.
so I think that there are actually two of them. So I think one of them is that so the project that me and another one of my fellows in the pod are working on is it's that so our entire project, our profiler project, is going to get landed into the React repository, the main React project. So I think that will be super cool. Yeah. When the entire when the entire package is like has like your name on it, like I think that is super cool. Yeah, so that's one. That will happen within next week. Because fellowship's ending in 1 week. Unfortunately, very sad. I'll miss all of you. The second thing is that we will be launching Stack Attack soon. Like actually launch it. Yeah. So we're still working at it. There's still some like teething problems with the UI and the UX, unfortunately. But
that was something I wanted to talk about earlier. So during the demos for Stack Attack, you did something with your terminal, including a flexbox, which shocked everyone, and I thought it was hilarious. Do you care to explain?
Yeah. So we actually use React in the terminal, which I never knew you could. But there's this package called Ink that allows you to use basically it is a custom renderer for React that renders into the terminal. So you can what Ink also has is that it has a support for Flexbox. So using some other like Facebook open source package, and the idea, so it really lets you like create a very nice terminal UI that flows, that has all the text flowing and laid out correctly just because you can use Flexbox, and you can say like, flex grow and things like that are also supported. Yeah, which is amazing. So when you string the terminal, like some of the text will flow, so that we have like some letters in the parentheses and some words over here. And when you string the terminal, this text will like break, whereas this will stay still. So it's just amazing that's even possible.
Awesome. Manya is running out of battery on her phone, but hopefully she'll be able to stay in for our final question, which is a really, really cool one. But we'll touch that on a second. Stack Attack is awesome, and I love the fact that you managed to get Flexbox working in a terminal.
Yes.
It just, it's just when you said those two things during the demo, my brain went, "Hang on a second, did you just say what I think you just said?" Like,
yeah.
But no, that was
They don't normally come together.
No, it's like, hang on a second. But it's really cool to see these different technologies working together. So I'm going to ask one.
I think the only thing everybody remembered about Stack Attack was, using Flexbox and CLI. Like everybody was so amazed with that idea.
It definitely stunned the fellows. Everyone was like, wow, today I learned.
Yeah. Super cool.
So I'm going to ask one final question before we wrap things up today. What would you say your most valuable or most important thing that you have learned throughout the fellowship was? Manya, I'll start with you before your phone dies.
So I think the most valuable thing for me has been, apart from all the technical skills that I've learned, all the soft skills that we've talked about, that we've experienced during the different events or discussions. I think they have been like a major learning point for me, because I realized that anybody can have the required hard skills to become a good software engineer or a developer, but those soft skills are actually what make a huge difference. And this program has really helped bring all of those different skills in a developer out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool to hear. E-Liang, have you got anything that you would say is your most important or valuable? I know you found this one difficult to narrow down to just one thing, but have you thought of something?
Yeah, so it's definitely still within the realm of all the soft skills, like Manya said. Just building a team, building and working in a team remotely, having never actually met those the people that you're working with before. Being trying to be able to vibe with them, and contribute, working productively with them in such a short period of time, and also to sync, make sure that everyone's on the same page. So apart from working with people, there's also the things about the personal branding stuff that I mentioned earlier. How to tweet properly. I also just started a blog over the past week. It's very incomplete, but it's just getting your knowledge out there. I think it's something that I definitely learned during this fellowship. Yeah, and definitely on top of that, all of that will be the hard engineering skills, and the projects, cool contributions to React, large projects like that, high impact work. Yeah.
That's awesome. It sounds like you both have had an incredible experience over the fellowship. It's been awesome chatting with you two over the last hour. Really insightful to hear a little bit more about what life is like as a fellow. You should totally follow the two of them on social media to hear more about Stack Attack. I'm sure E-Liang can put something in the Twitch chat. But thank you two for joining me. Really do appreciate it, and I will talk to you both soon. We will start wrapping things up, so thank you both. Bye. Cool. So that was Manya and E-Liang from pod 0.4.1 or 2, can't remember which one, but one of Yanni's fellows. So it's super cool hearing about their experience with the fellowship and stuff like that. We've had a few questions about the new fellowship, so I'm just going to touch upon those briefly before we wrap things up for happy hacking. So our first question here is, someone asks, what are your thoughts on the tracks open source / explorer within the MLH Fellowship for full? Which one should we apply for? Now, I think this is I'm going to move my head up a little bit. Quite a big question. What I would say here is, if you're someone who is still quite new to kind of writing your own projects, and the thought of going into open source is a humongous jump, then the working on the Explorer track would be a really good opportunity to develop kind of going at the pace of like an open source project. So if you're kind of looking, if you feel like it's too much of a jump, then the Explorer track sounds perfect for you. But if you're someone who's already maybe done like an internship in the past, or if you've already got a bit of experience, maybe been to a few hackathons or something like that, then the open source one will be perfect for like fine tuning and balancing out your skills. So I'd highly recommend that one. Perfect. So we have another question, which, it's not on the stream, but we've had this question quite a few times where people have asked, if I've already been part of the fellowship, can I apply again? And the answer is yes, you can apply again. Maybe try the Explorer track if you're looking to work on some projects of yourself with the support and guidance of a mentor and so on. So you can use that as well. And for those of you interested in the part-time fellowship, the way that will work is you'll have 2 meetings a week and you'll pick your time zone, either morning or evening, so you can make it work flexible to you. So if you've got university lectures at a certain time of the day, then you can try and make the fellowship work around that. If anyone else has any other questions, feel free to put them in the Twitch, Facebook, or YouTube chat. I will be hanging around here for just a few more minutes before we wrap things up for Happy Hacking. For all the information I have talked about, you'll be able to find it at fellowship.mlh.io, where will be, which is also where you'll be able to apply for the fellowship. Now, we have changed the application process slightly from last time. All these changes can be found in a blog post on the MLH website called "The MLH Fellowship is Back This Fall." The key takeaways are that there is a small application fee, which you'll have to pay if you want to take part, but if you absolutely can't, then you don't need to. All the information can again be found on our website. We'll also be doing the fellowship in 3 different batches, as well as just the one we just had in the summer. So we're going to have the full 2021 happening between the 21st of September to the 14th of December, so a 3-week one, and the deadline for that is the 13th of September. So if you're interested in applying for the one this fall, make sure you get your application in as soon as possible. Following that, we have the Spring 2021, which will be happening between the January the 18th to April the 12th, 2021, with the deadline being the 4th of January. So you've got a bit more time to work on that one. One of the bits of the application process is submitting a code sample where you'll review that in your technical interview. So if you haven't got one, this is a good opportunity to kind of work on one for that if you want a bit more time. And then again, we'll be running the summer one like we just have this year, which will probably work for a lot of you as a full-time thing, as a kind of internship style thing where you won't be studying. And we'll be doing that between May the 24th and August the 16th, with the deadline being May 10th. So if you're looking for something to fill your summer next year, then this is the perfect opportunity for you. The last things to mention here is we have need-based stipends. So you probably saw that we had some stipends this year. The way the stipend will work is everyone, so in the first batch, the current set of fellows, every fellow received a stipend and adjusted for their country's purchasing power index. We learned quickly that some fellows could have used more money based on the kind of situation they had, and some just didn't need the money. We believe this gap will widen now that students are resuming their courses and have tuition and all that kind of stuff to pay for. So we're now offering the programs part-time, which does make things a little bit more complicated, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Hang on, there we go. So the fellowship applications will be needs blind, and once a fellow is accepted, they will be given the option to apply for how much of a stipend they need. Ultimately, the MLH Fellowship is not a job, so you won't get a typical salary from it, but we do believe that the time students put in is valuable. So due to this change, we'll be able to offer stipends up to $5,000 to fellows who require the stipend to participate in the program. If you do have any further questions about that, feel free to put those, email fellowship@mlh.io, and our team will be happy to reach out if you've got a case for each case, for example. And the last thing I'm going to mention is the Explorer Fellowship, which is the final major change to the fellowship, and perhaps one of the biggest actually. Which is where we're going to be opening up a new track in the MLH Fellowship. So as well as the contributing to open source projects with the help of a mentor, students can now apply for an Explorer program where they'll be able to build out their own portfolio by working on hackathon-like projects, but over a long period of time with the guidance of an experienced mentor. So if you've always worked on a project at a hackathon or maybe a side project you've done in your spare time, this is a perfect opportunity to be able to kind of flesh it out and get some real-world experience on it. The edition was inspired by all the hackathon projects. So like we mentioned with E-Liang and Manya with Stack Attack, we think it'd be really valuable to be able to support the fellows working on these projects going forward in the future. We want to provide the support structure and mentorship to make this possible. We are super excited to see all of your applications for the upcoming fellowship. So make sure you get those in right now, because we are super excited to welcome as many of you as we can to the full fellowship. Someone asks, can high schoolers participate in the fellowship? I believe they can. You can check on our website for further details, but if you're a high schooler over the age of 13, I believe it is, just make sure that you have permission from your parent or guardian. But apart from that, you are more than welcome to participate. Obviously, it's a bit different when you're in high school because it may be a little less flexible, but the part-time fellowship option may work best for you there. Cool. Any other questions from anyone in the crowd? I think that might be all the questions, but again, if you do have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us on social media or email us at fellowship@mlh.io, and the team and myself will do our best to answer those questions. It's been great chatting to everyone, and that is all from me, Will, from the MLH Fellowship team. I hope you all have a great morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are, and that is all from me. Happy hacking all!